Welcome to the Moms I Know with Sheila Walsh-Denton and Maria Anderson-Farner. Two moms on a mission to reclaim childhood and take you from surviving to thriving on your parenting journey.
It is the logic of consumerism that undermines the values of loyalty and permanence and promotes a different set of values that is destructive of family life. Christopher Lasch.
Good morning. This is Maria.
And this is Sheila.
We want to welcome you to
The Moms I Know. In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about consumerism. You know, we really want to break it down, dismantle it, and you know, how much do we really need? And we want you, here we are at the end of October and holidays are just around the corner. You're going into the stores, you're seeing it all around you. The displays, it seems like year after year are getting bigger and bigger. And your children are getting inundated with all these products and everything. So what can we do to fight back, to say no more, to really keep your family close and not succumb to everything that's out there? You know, I mean, for me, I look at consumerism. I look at also like the environment, you know, the effects on the environment, the plastics, the phthalates, so my mind goes like everywhere. Sorry.
I think that's so important because we really have to look at what is this all about? So there's the environmental impact, there's the impact on the climate, there's the impact on our families, there's the impact on our souls. I mean, it's such a huge topic. I mean, here we are going to try to tackle this in
20 minutes,
right? A little podcast. But we're two moms who really have chosen to try to make a difference. We've tried to simplify our lives. We've tried to help raise our children to understand that they are not defined by what they have, but by who they are. And so I think that, you touched on that it's all around us. It's everywhere out there, but we can make a choice in our own homes as to how we want to approach this. And we're not talking about depriving ourselves of things. We're talking about making conscious choices about the things that we do choose to buy. So, we vote with our dollars. So we're choosing to buy fresh, local, and organic foods because that supports the local farmers. It helps with the environmental impact. It's healthier for ourselves and for our children. And so, that's a given. And then we look at, of course, we need some clothes. We need a home. We need, the shelter. We need to heat it somehow. But with every one of these choices, we can think about the impact. And you were talking about, somebody pays the price. And so we can support local artisans and local craftspeople. We can work with people this is their livelihood, and we can support local jewelers. And so, when we do buy that special thing that we want, that we need or want, we can be conscious with that. But with the holidays coming up and with these celebrations, we were going to talk about, how do we celebrate? How do we honor these passages of time in ways that are sort of counterculture or that are not giving in to this whole consumer ideology?
My mind is blown when you just said counterculture, because that's what it is, though. We are raising the consciousness of like, you don't need all of this stuff to be who you are. Mm-hmm. You don't need the elaborate Halloween display to say that your family celebrates Halloween, right? So what did you used to do? Just bring it back. What did you used to do when your children were little?
So we are big on celebrations. And I know that, there's lots of different people out there listening to this podcast who have different values and different religions and different cultures. And so, we're looking at American culture, California, early 2000s. So we were raising our children a little bit outside of town. And so one of the things that I have to say is I didn't take them to supermarkets a lot. I tried to avoid taking them to these places where there were going to be massive displays of things. And so, here we are heading into Halloween, harvest, and things like that. So we would keep things simple. There's a wonderful book about like the nature table. And so we would always have a little part of our home where we set up a little silk on the table and we would take items from nature and we would do things around whatever festival or holiday was coming up. And so we did celebrate a lot of holidays. We did celebrate a lot of the different things that are in our culture, but we also brought in traditions from other parts of the world, from our family backgrounds. So this time of year on our front porch would be a bale of hay, some pumpkins, and some corn stalks that we'd grown in our garden. And that was very simple. And there were natural spider webs, and we would do a little pumpkin carving, or we would do a lantern walk. And if we wanted to celebrate, the Halloween or All Hallows Eve, there was a beautiful lantern walk and sort of the magic of fairies and gnomes and little gifts from nature, just keeping it simple. And as they got older, of course, they wanted to do the trick-or-treating. So, we did a little bit of that. And then, of course, then there's the whole decision of what to do with the candy. So, at different stages, we kind of held off on that as long as possible. But once we did that, making those conscious decisions about maybe the candy fairy would come or different things like that.
Switch
right.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
And how about your family?
Similar, we liked Halloween. We like Halloween. We do have a little bit of, let's say I went to Target and, with a child and got a few things.
Well, you have teenagers
too.
The teenagers are going to look at things a little differently.
Yeah. But but the things that we've had is I've been trying to be as conscious. I okay, you can pick one thing this year. And so we have some cobwebs and stuff like that, and a big furry spider on our roof. But we do skeletons. We like skeletons. And that's part of, we celebrate Dia de los Muertos.
Right. So cultural and beautiful celebration.
Cultural, yeah, and exactly. And so that's something where between the 31st and the 2nd, we've created an altar with the marigolds and the calendulas, and we put pictures up. We have collected over the years pictures of people that have passed away, that have been significant in our life, and then through those days we tell the stories and we bake the special bread, and it becomes part of our family. We invite friends over if they want to talk about people, their loved ones as well, and so that's been a really awesome experience for our family, more so than just the Halloween. Just more so, it's more than just collecting candy, and that's the thing as well. It's like, how do you manage that? How do you manage the self-control with, do you take it all away? Do they get 3 pieces? There's so many different ways to look at that piece too.
Right. And, so these are things that are more from, a slightly slower pace of life, an older style, kind of old fashioned. Sometimes I get called, a little old fashioned, but there's such wonderful traditions from these cultures around the world and from days gone by. And, I don't know any culture that has, the whole ghoulishness. It's gotten so
it's horrible.
Pervasive in our society.
In our street especially. It's just, it's scary. I'm I don't want to look at that.
I know.
And where it's like you were saying, the nature table. One thing I had for my children when they were smaller, they got from preschool, was every season we do a fairy house. So there's the fall fairy house, and then with the winter fairy house, and the spring and the summer fairy. And those, it's like, that's a great way to do the seasons as well.
Oh, those are beautiful. There's some wonderful books about the fairy houses. And if you haven't had a chance to look at those, there's some amazing ones out there. And the very young child just loves making those kinds of things from items in nature. So, so there's lots of different ways to look at it. And when you look at older style traditions, those are traditions that children actually love. And so the handmade things, the gift giving, we look at then Thanksgiving. And if we celebrate Thanksgiving, how we can honor that by giving gratitude, by coming together. You talked about the El Dia de los Muertos bread, also food. I mean, food around the world, food from the different celebrations. That's a way of celebration that the children look forward to, that one time of the year that's where you have that special food item. At Thanksgiving, we would also do, I think both of our families have done like the little literary contest or recitation.
Exactly.
Where the children, memorize a poem or something. And I think we talked about that in our episode about seasons. We did touch on some of these things, but we're looking at it from this aspect of how can we celebrate these in a non-consumer way and yet make them, we have rich family culture, but we don't have to have lots of stuff.
Yeah, it's the stuff that, when, like, as I said, when we go to the store and it's just overwhelming and the holidays are coming. So how do we strengthen ourselves so we don't give in to those things? And I think how we do that is by the practice of spending that time with the family and saying that, I mean, you really do have to strengthen, because you're going to get it from your in-laws. You're going to get it from maybe your own family who, the holidays have been super big for them all this time. But the thing is it becomes a bit of a drain with finances. Right. It's like, how many people go into credit card debt because of the holidays? How many people get emotionally affected during this time because of the stress, of course, of the holidays, with consumerism.
And for children, it really can be overwhelming. Yeah. We're looking at children who, we want to calm their nervous system. We don't want to get this overexcitement. And I think, you might notice that towards the holidays, kids start getting a little more wound up. They're a little more overexcited. And so we want to try to keep this calm. And so you were talking about with your family having this handmade gift holiday.
And it's again, a practice, but one time, and it only lasted one time. I wish it lasted more, but we had this thing called a handmade holiday where we told our extended family we were going to make everything, and for ourselves, we were going to make everything. And of course, I'll never forget the stuff I got for my children. I forget what I made for them. I do. I can't believe I do. But I think you know what I did for them? We made them stories. I made them stories is what we did. And so what we did, actually, we did get them like a stuffed animal or something. And then with that, it came a story. Mm-hmm. And so then we were able to go through that.
And I can guarantee you that when your children are adults, they are not going to remember all the stuff that you gave them, but they are going to remember those stories.
Yeah, but I have and one of the things I got was a finger knitted belt with a belt buckle that they got from the flea market. It's like, I'll never get rid of that, those sorts of things.
Yeah, those are so meaningful.
It was a special Christmas that time. It was a handmade Christmas. We've also done experiences. We've gone down to Baja, to Mexico for the Christmas, and so that was a very non-consumerism. It was more so the experience. I know a lot of families that go on trips and stuff like that, where that is part of the holiday. So that's a way you can deal with the consumerism.
I love that. My husband and I used to make handmade gifts all the time, even before we had children. I'm fortunate he's a carpenter, he's a woodworker, he does beautiful work, but we would do Chinese checkerboards out of wood, or we made hammocks one year that we wove the hammocks, and really nice awesome gifts. But that was when we were like I said before we had our own children. But my stepson was probably 4 to 10 in those years, and he could help with those things as well. Yeah. And so it was really fun to see that. But then as the children got older, we were making handmade gifts for other people, and those are so meaningful. And so I really appreciate the fact that we can do that. And, all that stuff, we're not going to be counting that stuff when we're older. We're going to be looking at the experiences, the atmosphere that was created. And we want to create an atmosphere that is I'm not going to say free, because I don't think that even happens anymore around the holidays, but lowered stress, where we're looking at the passage of time, whether we're celebrating Advent or solstice or Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or Christmas, but this idea that the days are getting shorter, the nights are longer, festivals of lights, candles, those types of things. And so we can do that very simply, and we can help create this rhythm. We can help create this atmosphere of just anticipation, but not in this huge overdone way. And where we're rushing around, we're trying to get all these gifts to have, you were talking about having more under the tree, and more is not better. And I think when we look back to a simpler time, we can just celebrate those simple pleasures. And it's just so important.
Yeah, because I think when people want the allure of that more under the tree, like, oh, I can't even reach the tree because there's so many gifts. And the child has that dream of waking up and seeing that. However, you know what? What's really simple is something that, what if we did this for your children? Something to read, something to wear, something to need, and something they want.
I like it.
So that right there keeps it simple, and you can have your children write a list out and that, work on that. And if that becomes part of your tradition, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I think we're at this time now where people are really looking at minimalism or simplifying, and people are starting to realize that all of this stuff has has, it's taking a toll on
the
everything.
small. I mean, there's a small house movement, right?
Right,
People are
right.
wanting to go small. There's a huge Facebook group called Minimalist Homeschooling, where they're trying to live smaller, but yet it's hard with our consumer culture all around us. One thing I got to tell you, I'm so glad. I feel like I say I dodged this bullet, was the elf on the shelf. That's like pretty much really popular if you have children, I believe, like under 8. Juju's 9, 9.5, and she just missed it. It wasn't on my radar. My other kids have no idea what elf on the shelf is, but it's just like, that is something I feel like that in itself is super overwhelming and stressful for parents. And I don't know if they have to buy gifts every morning for their child, but they have to hide the darn elf everywhere. Do you know about it?
No.
Oh, yeah. No, they have to hide the elf someplace every day. And then there's some, I think there is some gift. I do believe there is some gift attached, but I was just like, oh my goodness. It's one more thing for families to do.
Right. And so, I have to say we were big on celebrations, but keeping them simple. And, I know that a lot of people get great joy out of decorating their homes and, doing the whole sort of overboard thing. But we can look at, again, what is that doing? It's to the child's nervous system, and what is it doing to their idea around what they need to be happy? And so just taking some time to think about, are there ways that we can simplify even a little bit? I was talking with a group of women yesterday about this idea that, okay, now we're not perfect. We've been struggling, and, parenting is challenging, and we could look at these shoulds. We should be simplifying. We should be doing this. We should be eating healthier. We should be exercising more. But little steps, and just raising the consciousness around the things that we're doing and saying, where can we cut back a little bit? Where can we simplify a little bit? Do we really need to get that much? And then when we do shop, with that intention of what is the impact.
Yeah. And I think what happens is we get like an expectation hangover in a way. And we're creating that for our children, that they are expecting something that maybe is that we can't always meet. We can't always meet all of their needs, like like you're saying, the shoulds and stuff. And so how do we temper that, with real life experiences? Another thing that we did for gift giving, especially during the holidays, was giving them something with a story, giving them a game or something like that. But then along with it came a bigger story that we would talk to them about, read to them.
Another thing is, are there things that we can do for other people or other groups? And in our family and also in the classroom, we always had around the holidays where we would choose a cause, whether we would donate to one of the organizations that gave an animal to a family in a different part of the world.
Isn't that Heifer
International? Or there's other organizations as well that do that, where you're giving the gift of a livelihood. You're giving the gift of of nutrition to a family. And I think children instinctively know and want to help people around the world, to help people here in this country, and to help a family that might not be able to celebrate with a holiday meal. And so I think those are really nice ways to instill that sense of, reverence and gratitude. And instead of just more stuff, we can do those experiences.
Yeah.
It's another way that we can look at it.
I mean, another thing we can talk about when consumerism is, we're talking about the holidays, we're talking about, just the meaningful purchases, is that when you buy something from, you touched on this, from an artisan, from a local shop, from, you go to the handmade fairs that are starting to pop up right now. It's like the maker's market. Exactly. Thank you. That you're helping somebody. You can see the face. You're not supporting a corporation, and that's again voting with our dollars. I told my children that somebody always has to pay the price.
Yes.
So there's nothing's for free. Love, of course, but there are some things for free, but like anything that for clothing, for example.
Right.
For toys and stuff like that, it's just like you want to buy meaningful products. You want to buy things that are going to last. You're going to buy things that you can pass down. And so I try to tell, I have a teenage daughter, like I discourage her from shopping at certain stores because that's cheap fashion, and I want you to be able to wear your clothes for many years so that you're not contributing to,
Well,
There's
when
the-
you look at
you know-
where are those things being made, who's making them? Is that, is that child labor? Is that a
Yeah,
sweatshop?
that's it,
And so,
exactly.
we really want to think about those decisions and help our children. And, with small children, we don't need to tell them all of the
No,
things
right.
that are happening around the world. We can just choose simple, beautiful handmade gifts that will hopefully biodegrade over time, instead of all the unnecessary plastic that is just building up in our world.
Okay. And did you just read the latest thing from NPR? There was just a thing, and I set it out on my letter, that my email list was that there's microplastic found in our feces.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
sorry.
So, yeah.
Sorry.
No, but it's
But
plastic
that's-
is everywhere,
Yeah.
truly. And so this whole concept of, planet or plastic. No, we would like to take care of our planet, please. And we can think about that with every single choice that we make. And, of course, there's some things that we don't have a choice. But the areas that we can make a difference really does make a difference.
Yeah.
And so, I did see your email. It's like, wow, and
I
so
know.
when we think about, like you said, somebody has to pay. And unfortunately, it's all of us as human beings, what we're overwhelming our planet, but we're also overwhelming our families. We're overwhelming ourselves. We're overwhelming our children. And so, again, this whole concept that less is more, just because something is good doesn't mean more of it is going to be better.
We have control.
Right,
we
we
have
do.
control, and we need to self-care ourselves, especially during this holiday time. Take care of our self-care so that we can take care of our families and make decisions coming from a place of power, that we don't need that stuff to make me feel the holiday spirit.
Exactly.
So that's, I think, important. Like, really, it's almost like taking a filter of what is important to me, what is important to my family, and get strengthened with that, and then going out to face the world in our consumer culture.
Right. Yes, it does. And so, we want to invite you to, here we are just coming up on Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas here in this culture, and the other celebrations that people are celebrating around the United States. But also, you can take that to the birthdays. You can take it to the other celebrations throughout the year. However your family chooses to honor the passage of time, the seasons of the year, the things that come up, the holidays, especially with birthdays. We're honoring this person. We're not overloading them with stuff. And so there's so many different ways that we can look at creative ways to celebrate. And it doesn't have to always be bigger, better. We don't have to have party bags. We don't have to have these massive experiences. And so just think about what it is that you remember from your childhood, and think about what are those meaningful moments. And that will help you to think about what it is that you want to pass on to your own children.
Yeah.
I think that, less is more. Simplify and just treasure the moments with your family.
Yeah.
They're not going to remember the stuff. They're going to remember, what is the saying? They're not going to remember what you said. They're going to remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
They're not going to remember the stuff. They're going to remember the atmosphere of the moment.
Exactly.
So,
And the tenderness and the warmth and the, that's what we want to share.
right. So with that in mind, take a deep breath as you head to the markets or the stores and you're overwhelmed by all of that. Just simplify, enjoy, treasure every moment.
Have a good one.
And we'll talk to you later on
The Moms I Know.
Thanks for joining us today for The Moms I Know. To learn more about Sheila and her online program, The Mom Map, visit purplebeetnutrition.com. For Maria's monthly blog and to learn more about her group programs and retreats, visit soquelessentials.com. That's SOQUEL essentials.com. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Moms I Know. Until next week, have a joyful family journey.